recognize the Democrat leader.
Mr. President, first I want to thank our great senators Klobuchar and Kaine and Wyden for leading the charge here on the Senate floor against Donald Trump's destructive, self-defeating, and often utterly juvenile trade war. Today, the Senate will vote to end Donald Trump's national emergency declaration against Canada and put a stop to the asinine trade war with our neighbors to the north. This has been the most peaceful relationship over the centuries, and Donald Trump seems to throw a hand grenade to undo that relationship. We need to put a stop to this asinine trade war with our neighbors to the north. And if Americans want proof that Donald Trump's trade war has been a catastrophe, considering this: while he capitulates to Beijing, he's raising tariffs on Canada. How nonsensical, how stupid, how thoughtless. One of our strongest allies, one of our most important trading partners. I don't know of two large economies that are more entwined than America's and Canada's. And after a year and a half of failed trade war, Americans have not gotten liberation. Instead, Americans have been saddled with a national sales tax. That's what Trump's tariffs are, a national sales tax on Americans. The average family, America, listen to this, the average family, American family, is paying $2,000 more a year thanks to Trump's tariffs. Our farmers are taking a beating. In New York, Donald Trump's 35% tariffs on Canada have been devastating. We depend on tourism. More than a quarter of the tourists who visit Niagara Falls and the wine country in the Finger Lakes region are from Canada. So many from Canada are flood New York City every year. And yet, this year, tourism and border crossings are down 20%. Western New York and Buffalo depend on those border crossings all the time. Trade between our nations has been hurt. Jobs have been squandered. The economy of every northern border state, as Minnesota, has suffered. And now Donald Trump wants to add another 10% tariff on Canada because his feelings were hurt over an ad featuring Ronald Reagan. Can you imagine what an infantile leader we have in America? He sees an ad and then hurts the American people with these tariffs? Yep, that's right. Donald Trump's pride has become so fragile that he's threatening to increase tariffs on Canada by another 10%, from 35% to 45%. Why? Simply because the government of Ontario released an ad that included a radio address from President Reagan warning about the danger of tariffs. And apparently that got Donald Trump's feelings all hurt. Trump is letting his delicate little ego drive U.S. trade, whether it's with Brazil or Argentina or with Canada. And the consequence is that Americans are paying more. This isn't a laughing matter, really. No. Struggling families have to pay thousands of dollars more each year because Donald Trump doesn't like the internal goings-on in Canada or Argentina or Brazil. That hurts Americans, and we pay more for construction materials, for aluminum, for paper, and so much more. But do you know what the truth hurts? What President Reagan said back in those years about the danger of tariffs was true back then and remains true today. And I know my colleagues on both sides of the aisle disagree. So right now, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the radio address delivered by President Reagan on April 25th on free trade and on the harms of tariffs on the economy, April 25th, 1987, be added into the congressional record.
Without objection.
Yesterday, the Senate came together in a bipartisan way to pass legislation to end Donald Trump's bogus emergency declaration in Brazil under the leadership of Senator Kaine. Today, we can take the next step to reverse Trump's trade war on one of America's most important allies, Canada, under the leadership of Senator Klobuchar. I urge my Republican colleagues to join Democrats once again to think about the families back home that are hurt by Trump's tariffs and to put an end to Trump's tariff war on Canada. Enough is enough. I yield the floor and ask consent to yield back the remaining time.
Without objection, under the previous order, the clerk will read the title of the joint resolution a third time.
SJ Res 77, joint resolution terminating the national emergency declared to impose duties on articles imported from Canada.
The question occurs in the passage of the joint resolution. Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.